All right, hello everybody. Welcome. It is Tuesday, November 12th. You're here for how to build resilience and strategy in your job search, mastering job search strategies for success and resilience. My name is Albert Chen, founder of Albert's List, and I'll be your host today. And with me is Keren Boiman, CEO and co-founder of Bullseye. As many of you might be going through a really long, protracted job search or starting your job search, you're probably well aware that you're in for the long haul given the state of this job market. If you're willing to share, put in the webinar chat how long you've been job hunting and how frustrating it may be on a scale of 1 to 10. We'd love to see. As you go through this experience, we know that it's really, really tough, and that being resilient and building a sense of self-confidence and building a sense of self-worth, along with overcoming many of the emotional hurdles, is a big step to take. So, to address that and figure out how we can build our own resilience today and master those job search strategies, we've brought in Keren. She'll talk to us about those, show you some tools that you can use, and help you along the way. Keren, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Albert. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to see so many people and interested in this topic. Obviously, as Albert mentioned, anyone looking for a job these days is in for the long haul, and we'll talk about it today. I'll introduce myself a bit and who we are. Uh, we're Bullseye. My name is Keren Boiman. My background is engineering and MBA. I spent 16 years in program management and operations in small startups and also in, big corporates. Headed the program management office as a PMO lead at Intel AI. I'm based here in Santa Clara in California, and also served as director of program management at SIMA.ai, which is a Bay Area startup, also developing AI chips for the embedded edge. The entire world is AI wherever you go. So that's been for the past 6, 7 years what I'm focused on, but primarily in the program management and operations side. Um, the reason we set up Bullseye, we established Bullseye is to help professionals and employers on the other side make much deeper connections in terms of matching, really understanding the professional background of job seekers way beyond a two-pager resume, and also the needs of the employer, of the hiring manager, and make those direct connections. Um, and this was the research of my topic when I started my MBA. I also experienced this firsthand a few years back when I was looking for a job. It was a very long and tedious and frustrating, you name it, process, 6, 7 months of landing a job, even as an experienced engineer. That startled me, and that was the reason I decided to fix it, or to aim at fixing it. Together with me, my co-founder Oren, who's also my spouse. He's previously started an AI company called Magisto, grew that to 100 million users, and it was later acquired by Vimeo, where he served as a general manager and on the leadership team. His background is computer science. He's a serial entrepreneur, and we've been working on Bullseye for the past year and a half. But this is not the what we're going to talk about today. Um, this is not a resume workshop or cover letter workshop. I'll touch on that just a bit. And if you want to learn more about our product and how we've helped hundreds of professionals so far make, big strides in terms of landing interviews, I'll be happy to chat later. And I've also put my LinkedIn in the chat. So, but today, what we are going to talk about is thinking through about this current job market, which we don't control, obviously, and thinking what are the how it operates, what are some metrics, looking at this, trying to just look at this as objective as possible, but then giving you guys tools in terms of how to sustain effort and energy across the journey of landing a job. So the way we look, the statistics, what it shows us today, and we know about layoffs, and we know that trend is still, going on. And we know how the AI is disrupting the job market, creating jobs, but also eliminating jobs. So essentially, the transformation in terms of roles, expectations, learning new tools, and all that is really impacting the job market. So what we see today is like 2% of applicants for corporate jobs are called for an interview. So that gives you a sense of, success rates. For every job opening, we see hundreds of applicants, of applications. You see that on LinkedIn, but also in written news, hundreds of applicants within few days. Sometimes they even close down, shut down the job opening. I'm sure some of you have experienced that within a couple of days or a week. So, and it takes, over 50% of job applicants wait months just to hear back after applying. And for the most part, in the job search process, it's essentially experiencing a lot of rejections or ghosting, but also having to sustain this for months. It used to be on average 4 or 5 months to land a job. Now it's extending to 7 months, 8 months, and up to a year. But the goal of our topic today is focus on what we can control versus what we cannot. And as it turns out, we are thinking about, as we're going through the job search, we're thinking of, many, many thoughts a day. And scientists have found a way to distinct different thoughts, essentially to understand when a single thought ends and when a new one starts. So there is, some research around how many thoughts are we actually thinking a day. Turns out, somewhere between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. But the most part of them, 80% of them, are mostly negative. And 95 of them are even repetitive. So even the negative stuff we tend to repeat and instantiate in our thoughts. And so the goal of today's conversation is how to really hone down and understand and control, focus on and invest our energy as best we can on what we can control over what we cannot. Sorry. Um, and I wanted to ask you guys over the chat, what is it that you see that you think is within our control? Looking at this from a job seeker perspective, what it is that is it within our control versus what's not in our control from your experience, if you can put in the chat. Yeah, our emotions. Our emotions are within our control, right? Yes. Yes, our resumes, our mindset, correct. Yeah, I agree, Ben. Staying positive. And what is not in our control? We want it to be within our control, but it's not. Yes, ATS is a hot topic. So there's a lot that is not in our control. Nonetheless, we spend a huge amount of time thinking about it, reflecting. How can I change this? How can I move the needle? So anywhere from what other candidates are doing, how many people applied, what the company really wants, why did they put the job description like this? What is their company's culture? What does the interview look like? Are they in a hiring freeze or not within, the recruiting journey or the interview process. What does it look like? What's their budget? How should I negotiate? Why, how much, money have they allocated for this role? What is my referral doing about it? Are they actively submitting my application or just sitting on it? All of those things are, and a lot more than that, obviously, is completely not in our control. What's within our control, and that's what we'll focus on today, is still a lot, and we have good strategies in terms of how to approach what's within our control and maintain our mindset and our thought process towards this versus what's outside. For example, applying, someone mentioned like my resume, making sure that I apply for a good fit role, identifying areas of growth for myself, like where is it that I want to learn more? What areas do I think I need to, save myself, or essentially maintain my competitiveness in this job market? Interview preparation, my mindset, how even rejection is being perceived, because the rejection is a part of the process, right? It's a given. Regardless, even if this was the great job market, rejection is still out there. How do we network? How do I network essentially? If I use referrals, how do I use them? How do I approach them? All of these are within our control, and that's where the majority of the conversation today is going to focus on. So let's start one by one looking at this. Job fit versus, there's another methodology that talks about, and there are even tools for that, even AI tools for that, that are spraying and praying applications. Our approach at Bullseye, and personally as well, is to find and apply for roles that are a very good fit against our background. And research also supports that. It shows that even just meeting 60% of the job requirements as compared to 50%, that in itself doubles the chances of being invited, called for an interview. So there's a lot of research on this topic, but that's why it's so important to not use the spray and pray, just apply all over the place. I once spoke with someone who applied. That person told me to 100, not every day maybe, but 100 jobs on a single day. So that's definitely not coming from, a solid job fit analysis or understanding. Sorry about that. Hold on. Yeah, so that's definitely not coming from a point of applying to jobs that are a great fit for us. Um, and now let's see what is the job fit analysis? What does it actually look like? How do we approach this? So this is an example of a real business analyst, just giving out an example of entry level job description. And this is what it would look like if we just use pen and paper to run this analysis and understand what's a good fit. And what I'm showing here is I'm giving you a way to quantify the fit, quantify using this T-chart simple example. So on the left-hand side, we have the job description requirements. They want strong analytical background, apply business analysis, develop solutions in large-scale businesses, so on and so forth, using Power BI or other tools for data visualization. On the column right next to it is where you put your qualifications as they are written in the resume. So for example, strong analytical background, you'd have a degree in business, or you're pursuing a degree in business, so on and so forth. So for each of those, you'd provide examples of how these job description qualifications essentially are presented or communicated in your resume. And then you'd score yourself. You'd give yourself a score. You'd give like a full match, a score of 1 for each job description that you fully match, and maybe partial score or a 0 for anything that you don't match fully or partially. So then you match, then you sum everything up, and then you see I got like 5 out of 6 total because I got a half and a half here. That's about 83%. That is a good fit. That is something that we at Bullseye recommend that you go ahead and apply. Okay, at least 70, 75%, and make sure that you are hitting the nail on the head with the basic qualifications. Because many times there are basic qualifications to a role versus a preferred. Okay, any questions on that? Yes, I think Ben raised your hand. Ben?
It's a webinar, so if they have questions, they can put them in the webinar chat. So
Oh,
please put your what questions in the webinar chat or use Q&A. Thank you.
okay, let's move on then. This is another example of a job fit analysis for a program manager role. You do the same thing. It's the same type of exercise. And again, if you see that you have a good percentage of a match, this is where you'd go ahead and apply. But this is also a tool to help you uncover gaps. Maybe they're asking for things that I didn't really showcase on my resume. Maybe this should go on the cover letter. This is a mechanism or an exercise that helps you uncover areas. Either maybe I just don't have it, so that's not a great match maybe to begin with. But if I do, this tool will help me better phrase the statements, both the summary statements or any of the my experience section, to make sure that I highlight the key skills that are needed. And this is not about keyword plugging. It's mostly about showcasing the actual experience you have that they're looking for. Okay, now let's talk a bit about resume tailoring. We recommend that you'd use a very simplistic resume template. We've interviewed about 30 recruiters and hiring managers before we started building Bullseye, the product. In terms of coming up with a resume template, and I won't go what's not a good template. I just, for the sake of time, show you a resume template that is perceived to communicate clearly and concisely the value or positioning, professional positioning of this person. That would be a summary statement, 2, 3 sentences talking about who this person is, what they're about, their background, education, years of experience, and strengths. And then a few skills. Again, everything should be tailored for this job description, for a specific job description. So, for example, myself, I have background in program management and operations, but the summary statement and the skills would be completely different for operations role versus a program management role. Okay, so when we talk about resume tailoring, it talks about one, using obviously a simplistic template, but also making sure that each section of my resume is directed towards the job description, talking about what's critical, talking about the basic qualifications that they're asking about, but also the preferred. Now, the project's extracurriculum or volunteering activities, if you're entry level, you could do that. You could add those sections, but only if they are directly serving a requirement that the employer asked for, not just general projects and outside curriculum or outside volunteering that you are pursuing. This is less important. The resume is, think of it as a piece of real estate. Everything has to be used efficiently and to communicate to the point. I'm sure you've heard of the STAR resume. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and results. And the resume is a point where you'd exercise talking along the STAR methodology. talking about each bullet point. You'll try to make it as quantified as you can. This is an example of what it would mean from, say, for example, a software developer perspective, reduced bug throughput time by 30%. So essentially a way to resolve bugs in the software. You could either use percentage-wise, like 30% improvement in sales revenue, or you can use specific dollar amounts like increased revenue by $1 million quarter after quarter, or you can use scaling, like I scaled the group, or I scaled the number of products that we were able to deliver to by 2x, 3x, and so on. So those are ways to talk about your achievements or talk about your qualifications, your solid results, outcomes that you've delivered to a company. And you try to make this as quantifiable as you can. Now, this will serve you once you practice this. This will serve you not only for the resume, but also for the interview. Once those questions come up, you'll always talk about this from a what this was the situation, or this was the problem that I was responsible for, that I was tasked for. These are the actions that I've taken, XYZ, and these were the outcomes, and this is how it served the bottom line of the company. Okay, so understanding, if you want more information about, there's a lot of information online, also on our blog, about how to use the STAR methodology, both on the resume and also in the interview. Okay, let's see any other questions. Yes, if I have less than 75%, does that mean you don't recommend to apply? So again, this is up to you, obviously. This is a recommendation. The reason is that if they get hundreds of applications, the lower score of a match that we see, that you see on your end, the probability that the employer would get candidates that would be a higher fit, or a higher match compared to the job description gets higher and higher as my score is lower, right? So I'm not helping myself, obviously when you get like a 40% or so, that gives you a signal of maybe this is not really worth your time in applying. Now, the 75%, 80%, 70, or all of those are like a gray area. A lot of it depends upon how I judge myself, or how, I grade, how I score myself for each and every requirement. By the way, Bullseye does that for you, so you can try the tool, see if that works and if that helps you. But you're always in the driver's seat. You are always in the driver's seat deciding, what to apply for, what not. This is a recommendation. But it talks about, in general, just to understand holistically where this is going, you want to find jobs where when right off the bat, you're a great fit. That makes it easier for you to communicate that and for the employer to grasp that. Okay, now we talked about, okay, what's within our control? What is it that we control that we can improve? So we talked about the resume. We talked about the template. ATS is not going to talk about that because it's really not in our control at all. But using a simplistic resume template is very ATS, applicant tracking system friendly. It's also recruiter friendly and hiring manager friendly, but it's also ATS friendly. So that's definitely something we can do. Now, job board just diversification. I read a lot about in forums, in groups and conversations where people talk about, I'm mostly applying on LinkedIn, or Indeed maybe. I'm not really finding other. Maybe you can recommend other job boards. So, we do recommend diversifying looking across different opportunities and different job boards, and to look across, different pockets of jobs online. The reason is obviously that's the how you increase opportunities. Remember that LinkedIn or Indeed, they have a specific, business model. Maybe sometimes it's not as convenient for employers. Maybe smaller startups or so don't really post there because it's too expensive or for whatever reason has to integrate with their systems. So looking and checking other job boards, you'll find a bigger pool of opportunities. Also, many job boards, and we'll show that in a minute, they target specific audiences. So it could be specific industries, specific demographics, or specific skill sets. So they'll have obviously a smaller pool of jobs, but they'll be very niche towards what you're looking for. And in those job boards, you'll see less competition because you'll see obviously much fewer candidates per listing. Now, okay, so you say, okay, my background is product management. Where should I go? You'll find this is just very, very partial list. I don't know if you've heard of all of those job boards, but these are ways to diversify your efforts and where you find jobs. Um, for example, Stack Overflow jobs for software and tech, Media Bistro for media and marketing, construction jobs. There are quite a few job boards that focus on diversity. For example, diversity jobs, Black Career Network, or job boards focusing on women. Fairy God Boss is just one of them, and the Mom Project. I don't know if you've heard of that as well. Targeting women, targeting moms. There are Facebook groups for moms. For example, here in the Bay Area, it's called Mints or Moms in Tech. It's a huge group. I recommend you try that out. For remote jobs, there's we work remotely, flex jobs. Some of these are paid, by the way. I think flex jobs are paid remote. And remember for the remote jobs, inherently there'll be much more applicants for each role. So keep in mind that as well. Um, for startups, there's AngelList. There is a dedicated Y Combinator job boards for all of the startups on their portfolio. Built-in is another one, and Product Hunt jobs for product managers. That's just one. There's, obviously a lot more that I've even heard of. Yeah, I see Remotive, someone mentioned in the chat. Remotive.com is a good job board as well. Great. Yes. So diversifying, I think it's even, more interesting even not to go every day on LinkedIn, but try different job boards is a useful tool when you're job seeking. Let's talk about networking. So the job hunt process is since it takes months and it's mostly by yourself, I really recommend to get out of the house or get out of our daily grind of looking for a job and applying, and really try to either network, meet people either online or in person. Um, one of the networks or one of the websites that I found really nice, I think it's a rather new one. I'm sure you know Meetup for either in-person or virtual meetings, but also Luma. Luma gives you both. You see here. Uh, it has many options for in-person. In-person means, you dress up, you get out of the house, you meet people, and it doesn't all have to do with jobs or, anything that relates to job seeking or resume or anything like that. It can be about any category you choose, like arts, or I want to learn more about climate change, or, energy, or I want to learn more about SaaS or anything of that sort. There is, a group for founders, a group for anything, you name it. and they are very active, at least here in the Bay Area, very active, but I'm sure in other places as well, in terms of organizing and building communities around topics of interests. Um, Even going and, showing yourself, talking to people, that can open a whole lot of opportunities that you've never even imagined. Plus, it feeds the soul. And remember, we're going for this, we're running a marathon, not necessarily something that we originally planned for, but it is a marathon, both, actively, daily, but also mentally. So this can be a great, breakout from the daily grind of applying. Also, I recommend, I don't know if you've heard about NovaWorks. And again, this is something that they operate in the Bay Area, two locations in the Bay Area, Sunnyvale and Redwood City. Um, they are a federally funded, but you can find, I'm sure, other governmentally funded centers like this. And they focus on matching you with jobs, but first, helping you go through the process if you need a career coach, if you need one-on-one consulting to talk with, understand maybe your rights, and obviously helping you with the resume. They have workshops. They meet in person, but also online. So that's also a good way to open up to new opportunities and meet other people. Yes. Okay, yeah. I also, when I was looking for a job that I mentioned a few years back, NovaWorks was one of my great resources. They really helped. They're doing a great job, and they're free. All of this is free. Luma and Meetup, they all, and I'm sure other networks online as well, they have their own meetings. Majority of them are completely free. So use that because you never know where that referral is coming from. So talking about referrals, referral is specifically in this job market is an important tool. If you acknowledge this or not, I really encourage you to use that to your benefit. People totally understand that the job market is not friendly. It's very competitive. So referrals is a way for you to put your resume on top in front of the hiring manager. You don't know where it's going. You don't know if that referral, actually, applied or, used your resume and or how much, extra effort they put beyond that, but it still proves itself to be a great way to go, distincting yourself maybe from other candidates. So how can you get referrals? Not in every company, I know the person, I know everyone, or I have a connection. Of course not. So LinkedIn is where you can research like who's in this company, maybe who's in my domain, maybe it's a program manager, maybe it's in operations, maybe it's in customer success. Someone I can, connect to, just hit the connect button. And then after they reply to you or after they make the connection, you just write something like this. Again, it's just a suggestion. Hi, we're not connected or connected on LinkedIn, depends. I thought I'd reach out, find a great fit for my so-and-so position at your company. My background is this and that. Help them understand who you are, a stranger asking them for something. I was wondering if you can help as an internal referral, send them the link to the job, help them kind of scope like, what is this about? Who am I? Why am I reaching out? And, I'd be happy for your help. What I've seen and what people are reporting is that, maybe 2 out of 10 referrals actually, reply back and are happy to help. So that's still, percentage wise, it's still worth your time and the effort associated with this. So I do recommend that you try this out. Is anyone on the call? Do you have any like success stories with referrals or anything, any tips that you can share with us? Yes, I know you can only put in the chat, but I'm sure there are great success stories with referrals. Also, alumni networks. Alumni networks. It could be college, it could be previous companies you worked for. Um, please don't be shy. Um, put yourself out there. Ask for, you're not asking, a huge favor. You're just asking for them to be an internal referral if they can. Write something that's very, concise and quick. Like this is, and don't mention like in general, maybe you can help me within your company. Point them out to a specific job that's on their that's something on to be on their radar. Maybe they can approach the hiring manager directly. Maybe they happen to know them. But help them make that connection for you. Past colleagues and friends, we talked about this, even neighbors. Another way to increase your network and get referrals and get people to help you is through volunteering or contributing to an open project, to an open source, connecting with people, obviously, Reddit and other platforms that can also serve you well in terms of finding referrals. I highly recommend to use that as well. An area, yes. Someone is saying that's an area I need to greatly improve for sure. The few times I had referrals, I did get interviews. Yes, so referrals have proved to as a tool, right? These are just people helping out. So, you've helped out other people. I've helped many, many other people in the past making those connections. People are happy to help for the most part. And just, giving them, that link and hey, we're connected, we're not connected. I'm really enthusiastic about this role. A few words about myself and um, ask for help. Let's talk a bit about upskilling and remember the exercise we did before. You can do that in your head, but working on this rigorously through analyzing the job fit analysis time and time again over different jobs may help you uncover areas where you say, hey, you know what? This is interesting. Um, I see this coming up again and again and again. Maybe I can, in the meantime, um, upgrade my understanding in this area. Um, now, this doesn't have to be a huge time commitment on your end. I've put here, I'm sure you know of these tools of Coursera, Udemy, Udacity, LinkedIn courses, and continued studies on colleges and so on. Um, but these are they have free tools for you to choose from. So this is an example from Udacity, which I really highly recommend you try out. And these are all free courses. You just put down in the search area or interest or domain or a skill set or anything of that sort, and it gives you a list. You can filter this out by the free. Obviously, they have paid programs, but there are many, many ways. And this is all like they have webinars. It's a person teaching that, and you have quizzes and so on. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer, can take a couple of days, some of them are like just a few hours. But it gives you a way to really sharpen your tools, sharpen your understanding in areas which you have actively identified that you either you wanted to learn more about, you care about this. I see, companies in this space. I want to enter this space, or anything of that sort. This gives you a way to really upgrade your understanding, dive deeply. There's obviously endless amount of information online, but this is a very structured way of upskilling ourselves. Any other recommendations that people have tried out in terms of upskilling platforms? Yeah. Someone is mentioning, Mark is mentioning, I'm taking Udacity course so far. I like the content. Yes. Okay. Another question on the referral. Um, yeah, on the referral space, what we talked about. Yes, referrals, that's true. It takes sometimes a few days for them to respond. What should you do? Should you go ahead and apply or not? My suggestion to you is like give it a day or so. If you don't hear back, apply. Don't wait for hundreds of applications on their website. Go ahead and apply. If they get back to you, just mention, I maybe you can help me internally. I already applied, but maybe you can push this internally. Maybe the hiring manager, reach out to the recruiter, or so on. Um, Always go ahead, just try out on LinkedIn if you try out a few employees from this company. Try to they usually respond within maybe a day. If they don't respond within a day, they will not respond at all. Again, that's just statistics. Doesn't mean it's true for every case. But if you don't hear back, you've got nothing to lose. Just go ahead and apply. And if they help you afterwards, that's just a bonus. Okay, preparing for an interview. Sorry. So we talked about again things that are within our control. Um, Preparing for an interview is a big thing. Like you were called, even for a call with a recruiter, for a phone screen with a recruiter. I recommend you research the company and the specific role. Ask yourself, um, what is this company about? What are their positioning in the market? What are they developing? What are their products? Who are their competitors? Why are they better than the competitor? Um, and again, okay, I understand the company, I understand the domain, I understand the sector. Now, why do they need this role? Why are they hiring? What is the problem that they are trying to solve? Put yourself in the shoes of the employer, of the hiring manager. When you deeply understand the need, obviously it's in the job description, but many times it's pretty vague. Go and research the company. It really will enrich the conversation, that's for sure, because you'll know much more. Summarize everything in a presentation. I used to prepare a presentation for each interview. It serves you because you can easily talk about yourself. You put an about me slide. It gives a very good way to communicate. You're not just communicate verbally, also visually. Prepare for maybe 5, 6 key interview questions that may come up. You can use ChatGPT for that to just drop in the job description and what you've learned about the company and ask ChatGPT or any other AI tool to help you with identifying the key interview questions. This can be also, technical, but also behavioral. Prepare for both. And essentially do your homework before every interview. I've used a presentation, even presenting within an interview without being asked. Um, for example, in program management roles, it's about showing dashboards, it's about showing metrics, it's about showing proactiveness, communication plan. Could go many different ways. Again, this is from a program management perspective, but it's a tool that serves you if you're ending up presenting in a present mode or not. It can serve you in clearing your thought and communicating concisely, even in the interview itself. Now, remember the STAR methodology. We talked about that. Approach when you are in an interview, approach each question as like framing what was the situation I was in? What was the problem we were trying to solve? What are the actions I took? And eventually, what was the outcome? Always relate that back to the question, like closing full circle, coming back with this is how I drove value to the company, to the team. This is how we solved the problem. And I was on top of this. Um, yeah, so PMP certification. PMP certification is a program management professional So it's really specific question to program management. Sometimes I think it gives an edge, yes. It does have a lot of effort associated with it because it's a lot to study and take a test, and also maintain that certification year after year. Um, some companies put that onto job description as a bonus point, but bonus requirement. Some don't. Um, you can, dive into this, see if you see a pattern in the job descriptions that you're analyzing. If you see a pattern of PMP coming up again and again and again, maybe that's an area you should spend time on. Okay, and you've done all of this, and guess what? You still got to know. And you get a no and no and no again and again and again. Now, how do you handle rejection? Sometimes you don't even hear back. So there's a lot of, just, bad practices of recruiting happening out there, again, outside of our control. And sometimes ghosting is even harder to manage mentally as compared to just a solid no. Not hearing back at all, following up a week after, 2 weeks after, and you hear crickets. Um, so I want you to know that, you don't hear back, or you hear back a no. Many, many times these days, their companies' policies are refraining them from even giving out feedback. You're not even getting feedback, so there's no possibility other than reflecting back on your how you did on the interview. There's no way to actually tie that back to any feedback given from the interview. So it is okay to feel upset, to give yourself a day or two to just, do other things, um, and think through, how can I improve? Maybe there's always a lesson. What can I learn from this, essentially? Try to be curious, what can I do better? How can I improve? Um, it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's a given, but the tools, hopefully, that we talked about today will help you manage your thoughts, direct them to where I can actually make an impact, where I can actually influence, versus being very keep on being frustrated and devastated by those rejections. It is inevitably a part of the process. I want to talk about just touch just a bit about gratitude. Keeping a gratitude journal or journaling, using that as a tool for reflection, proves to be, at least statistically, very, very useful. If you think about it, there are always things to be grateful for. It could be your friends, your family, your loved ones, even just the weather, frankly. Um, just, a great day or a great weather, or just someone calling you, asking about you, how you're doing, um, anything. If you think about it deeply, there are a lot of things outside of the job search that maybe is, not going the way I planned. There's a lot of things to be grateful for. If you can't find anything, just open the news and you'll find a lot to be grateful for. So journaling and reflecting is a great way. Now, another way we talked about is realistic expectations. Sometimes people write expectations even as they journal, as, I want to have an interview by next week. This is my goal. Or I would like, to get an offer letter by tomorrow. Or I want to make X amount of dollars. This is my salary, so on and so forth. Realistic expectations talks about only what I control. Again, I cannot put expectations or metrics or anything that I'm going to be frustrated about that's outside of my control. I don't control how many, applications they get, if they call me for an interview, if that referral actually answers me back or not. We don't control that. So realistic expectations talked about only what I can do. Prepare well for the interview. Sorry. Prepare well for the interview, and also send, four, just throwing out a number, four very good fit resumes, tailored resumes a day or a week on you, depends on your pace. So that's with handling rejections. Um, Other than that, happy to take questions or comments as they come. I think someone was asked about, okay, let's talk about November and December, end of the year. And someone was asking also about the job board, so that you can take a look or take a screenshot. Yes, November and December are typically slower in terms of companies posting jobs, and obviously recruiting practices, or the length of how long the recruiting process takes or the interview process takes can can linger on. So just be aware of that. I would not completely eliminate November and December, right off the bat. Just don't apply, don't look for a job. No. I still see companies, I see a lot of companies, I see companies posting jobs. There is actually somewhat of a, at least based on, what I see around what people are talking in forums, somewhat of an uptick in terms of job openings. There, after two interest rate cuts, one after the other, hopefully there could be, an uptick in terms of number of jobs being created. For the most part, areas which have suffered the most are tech, finance, for the past year and a half or so. So I would not completely give up on November and December. I would still go and apply. Yes. These things are still happening, so don't get discouraged there. Okay, any other questions that
Someone asks, can you spend another minute on using AI for interview prep?
AI for interview prep? So I think just in general, we talked about how ChatGPT or other AI tools out there can help you. The way to do that, and I'm sure that there's a lot of prompting online, copy paste the job description and ask the tool to come up with maybe 5, 6 questions. And also, you can use that to your advantage. Think of those questions, write like a draft answer of your own, and then ask the tool. You can also feed ChatGPT your resume and ask the tool to give you a sample answer. And then you can compare and contrast what you see, how the tool would advise you, or maybe things that you've overlooked in your answer. Think again about the STAR methodology as well, how to construct the answer. That's very important. So even if I'm answering and it's all just mumbo jumbo, I'm not really making a point, I'm not driving this home, then the interviewer may not, I'm not communicating correctly. Even if I am, I have made significant achievements in my previous company, but I'm not communicating this correctly, it's not coming across. Okay, so work with ChatGPT or other tools. I can't recommend because I haven't researched that area deeply. I know there are a few other tools out there, but try to use that to your advantage. I highly recommend that. Yeah. Copy of the presentation. Yes, I can work with Albert to send that over. Yeah.
Yep. All
Uh,
right. Let's see. I'm looking at other questions here. What is the likelihood of hiring in November or December or even until the first half of January?
Yeah, I think we touched upon this area. Um, yes. By the way, anyone on this webinar, if you want to reach out on LinkedIn, we can give you a free trial of Bullseye, so you can try that out. It does everything that I mentioned here, just briefly gives you that score, talks with you, and also creates a tailored resume for each job description. So I'll be happy to help anyone who wants to try that out. Another question I see here. Um, yeah, about real opportunities as compared to ghost postings. Um, they have pre-selected internal candidates, but had to post to meet local hiring regulations. Again, outside of our control. Yes. And I'm not sure if this is actually a valid job opening. If you have a way of, you as a job seeker, if you have a way of telling if it's a ghost posting or not. Some are definitely scams, but some are not. So you don't have a way to decipher those. And many, many times it's outside of our control.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's see. What do you think about tools such as Interview Copilot?
Yeah, personally, I haven't tried it. And maybe someone on the chat can reflect back on using that tool.
Okay. Regarding the job fit analysis, how is pursuing mean you match or qualify for that requirement?
Say again, how is
How is quote unquote pursuing mean you match or qualify for that requirement?
pursuing? Yes. Okay, great question. If they are asking for someone with a bachelor degree in XYZ and myself, I'm pursuing this, I don't meet the qualification. I don't have that qualification. I cannot check that box. So
Got
if I'm pursuing that degree, I can even either give myself a partial score, or maybe I'm just a full-time student. I'm looking for internships. So um, yeah, they would need to think of it when they're putting that job description and they want someone who has a bachelor degree in that domain, they would compare and contrast your background against another candidate, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So understanding the fit, put yourself in the employer's shoes, understanding how they score or understand the fit.
Sometimes while waiting for referrals to respond, the number of applicants keeps increasing. How do you suggest handling that?
Yeah, so we talked about that. We said that you generally, just a rule of thumb, you give it a day. If they don't reply back, you just apply online. And when if it happens that they do get back to you, you just mention that you also applied online, but you'd appreciate internal referral as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think we've
Uh,
covered
okay. I think I see most of the questions being answered. I see that folks are beginning to drop. So
yes.
I want to thank you again, Karen, for your time. Did you have a chance to once again promote Bullseye so that folks can check it out? I believe, is it for free or are they?
Yes, it's got a free, yeah, I mean it's got a free trial,
Okay.
and we can help with anyone on this webinar, anyone interested with getting an extended trial beyond the free trial, an extended free trial. Just reach out on LinkedIn and we can, or by email or through Albert, we can take care of that for sure. If anyone you think that you need any help, and, in terms of resume review, resume tailoring, just reach out to me and I'll be happy to meet with you offline and help. And I'm,
Wonderful.
I'm
Okay.
glad to see this was fruitful. And thank you so much, Albert, for
Yeah,
hosting
absolutely.
this.
And before I close out, I just wanted to ask if you had any final words to offer for the audience today. What do you want to tell people as they continue to go through this job search journey and look for that light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes, definitely. There is always a light at the end of the tunnel. I've, been in those uh, in that situation multiple times. There is a yes waiting for you. You just don't know how many no's you'll have to hear throughout the process, but there is a yes. And that yes is designed and designated for you. So just keep on doing, focus on, what I can control, what's outside of my control. Always put your thoughts back. We gotta be a bit disciplined about it because we want to be efficient with our energy. Think of this. The only perspective or association that comes to mind is just running a marathon. Got to be very focused, and use our energy efficiently. Yes. So those are my final words. And I'm glad this was helpful. Yeah, I see a lot of people writing in the
Yeah.
chat.
Wonderful. Well, with that said, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. You'll find a recording on this on YouTube later, including a link to Bullseye and also Karen's LinkedIn. Wherever you may be headed, Albert's List is here with content and webinars. Check out our Eventbrite page for more event listings up here in the future, and we will see you all very soon. Thanks, everybody, and have a great, wonderful rest of your week. Bye bye.
Right.